Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B. March 5th, that's where we're at. The sun is shining. Got out to get some grounding happening, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the stuff that's bubbling to my awareness at the present moment in time, which is really all about validation. Is the theme that is playing up in my awareness at the present moment in time. And I've done videos in the past about gaslighting and narcissistic abuse and what it's like to be raised in an environment where you're constantly being negated your perception of reality. And when that happens, you can become codependent into an enmeshed relationship with your narcissistic parent or self-absorbed parent, because they're the ones that define what reality looks like for you, and whether they also lay judgment on whether you're showing up in a world that's desirable or undesirable in their opinion, and constantly critiquing you for how you show up if it's not in alignment with the role that they want you to play. And it's like you're a toy and they're playing dress up with you, and any sense of self becomes completely and utterly reliant on somebody else as a marker or as a viewpoint for validation, not only if you're showing up in a world that is beneficial, or if you're showing up in a way that makes you feel good. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I can see how this wound has played out in my life, made me come to a new level of awareness now, how incredibly root cause of suffering it is. And that's the Buddhist philosophy is telling us, may you heal your suffering and the root cause of suffering, because if you don't get to the root of the situation, then you're never going to expunge out or transmute the wound, and you'll keep playing it out until you have come to the aha moment that you're waiting for. So validation is something that we all like, but when you are raised by a narcissist, it's not a matter of like, it's a matter of need. There's a need for external validation, for an external point to reference back to you reality, whether you're good or bad, and whether you're lovable. In reality, in that gaslit mental state, redefining, is this what's happening? Is this what's really happening? If you're constantly looking to other people to ask, okay, well, this happened to me at work, what's your take on that situation? Would you have been mad in that situation? Or you're talking to your friends all the time and you're saying, I don't know what's happening in my relationship, it seems like something's off, what's your opinion on that? Or family members, if you're constantly, I'm thinking about taking a holiday to Vermont. What's your opinion on that? Should I do that? Should I not do that? So if you're constantly looking for an external source, as in there's like a counsel to your life, that could be definitely a flag or a sign that you are seeking external validation because you don't trust your own ability to make decisions. And I certainly haven't in most of my life, because I was told outright that I make crappy decisions and that I'm a fuck up. And so because of that, I became not only enmeshed in my relationship to my mother, constantly seeking, well, what about this? Is this, and the problem therein lies is they're constantly recreating reality for you and going, no, that's not how it is. No, you're remembering that wrong. This is what really happened. This is how you really felt. I always loved it when she would tell me how I felt or how I thought. As in, like, but wait, do I not get a say about how I think or feel? Apparently not. And then the second aspect of seeking validation is how we are constantly seeking comfort and soothing and love as a way to validate ourselves. And that showed up in my life in very self-sabotaging behaviors. I can look back at it and see it now, how especially in regards to dating and relationship and even promiscuity, of how easily I would be like, yeah, let's go, woo! I'm having a good night, a lot of drinking, and then seeking somebody else to say, hey, you're beautiful, hey, you're fun, hey, I want to be with you. And in seeking that validation was not true validation. It was momentary and would ultimately leave you feeling more empty and more shameful and more devalued after. But society has almost condoned promiscuity now, and has almost created a culture that says, hey, this is a-okay. And the problem with it is, if you're looking for others through the realm of sexuality and relationship and dating and love, going from love in itself can be an addiction if you're constantly hopping from one relationship to another relationship in need. I need somebody to fill this void and fill this, to validate that I'm lovable, to validate that I'm desirable, to validate that I'm attractive. Then you are caught in a cycle of codependency and hooked on to situations that aren't in your best interest, which, well, we can look at all my videos about escaping from this marriage that I was in that was a trauma bond. He became my number one source to validate all of my experiences, replacing my own insight, my own feelings, my own knowings of what was right and wrong, because everything had to be filtered through his lens. So that lens of validity, saying yes, this, that, was always an external seeking and an internal needing. And that kept me hooked for a very long period of time in an abusive situation, because the more I sought for it outside of myself and the more dribs and drabs that I would get, it was like feeding a heroin addict or something. Yes, validate me, tell me that everything's okay, because I was desperately having something inside of myself. That ability to validate self had never manifested, had never developed, had never grown, because when you're raised in a traumatic environment where you're constantly being criticized and constantly being gaslit, and that validation never comes, then it's a constant grasping outside of yourself. And this is one of the energies that I've been sitting with and contemplating lately, because I think this is really the root cause of a lot of my own suffering through my life, is seeking external validation in everything that I did in life. And so now, as I'm learning to become and become me, and trust my own intuitive knowings, and trust my own spidey sense, and trust my own emotional GPS of saying, this resonates as something that feels good, this resonates as something that doesn't feel good, and this is my decision, and these are my boundaries, and these are my thoughts, and these are my, so learning to fix or heal or shift this paradigm of constantly seeking external validation, which places you in a whole bunch of negative situations, that is, on so many levels, the absolutely wrong way to get that energy that you're seeking. Like, even the concept of dating, I want to talk about for a second, the sacred sexuality and sacred relationship. I can own outright that I was completely ass backwards in regards to my philosophies of how dating even worked, because like many people out there, you meet up with somebody and you're like, hey, you're hot, you're attractive, I got a tingle, and so you're thinking about the root chakra first of connecting in, of like, oh, I want to like connect with you sexually, I'm attracted to you, I'm drawn to you. Do I have fun with you? Is there pleasure? Is there intimacy that we can create? Oh, wonderful. And then you move into the solar plexus. So, and that's all about, okay, well, let's the power dynamics between us. Who's going to be the top dog? Who's going to be the bottom dog? How are we going to navigate through this world in power grabs? And then, oh, well, maybe now you'll fall in love with me because we've gotten all these bottom chakras aligned. Let's look at the heart chakra. If I am desirable sexually, maybe you'll find me attractive and fall in love with me. And then let's maybe talk about some of these things and see if we're on the same wavelength and see the same goals and things like that. And then, yay, divine partnership. No, that's the bottom-up approach. And I feel now, as I've aged and I've gone through these experiences and these healings, definitely this whole twin flame journey, which has brought into light all the shadow aspects of self that you can do, is if you're seeking divine partnership and you're seeking validation, what you actually want to do is the process of top down, is first connect with source so that you can validate yourself, your own experience through source. As source energy comes in, you're like, okay, this resonates as truth for me, this resonates not as truth for me. I can be in alignment with myself and my own knowings. And then as I meet somebody, I can be like, oh, are you also in alignment with your higher self, your higher source? Oh, do we have the same visions? Let's talk a little bit about vision and see what's happening. And where do you see yourself? And what goals and missions do you have? Let's talk openly, honestly, communicate in integrity and develop a bond on the throat chakra this way. And then maybe, there's a little bit of a stirring of heart feelings that are coming in here. Can our hearts connect? Do you have compassion? Do you have empathy? Do you have all these values that are very important to me? Empowered. Are you empowered to be in balance with your own divine masculine and feminine? If you say you're going to do something, do you do it? Is there follow through? Are these things that are in alignment with what I know of myself and can be in my own personal power and no longer be in a state of codependency or enmeshment, have broken the paradigm of the narcissist empath intersection? And then, can we have fun together? Is this life is joyous? Is there fun? Is there peace? Is there all of those types of things? And then finally, last but not least, is okay, then maybe let's get down and dirty. Let's get the fun on now. Through that process, you would be much more inclined to have a healthy, connected, balanced, healing relationship where two people are coming together in the same goals and in the same frequency, working together to make themselves into one unit. But if you try to make yourself into one unit from the bottom up approach, it's like building Jenga backwards, and you're pulling out things that may not even be there, but you've already invested so much time and you've jumped into a situation where, but it could become something. It has the potentiality to become something. My thinking now is, no, I don't work on potentials. I work on what is. And what is being in your own presence enough that you can validate your own experience with whomever you're having a connection with, whether that be friends, whether that be romantic partners, whether that be family members, so that you are in an energy and in a state of self-validation, self-awareness, self-soothing, and once that energy has been contained and in your own right, there's no longer a grasping going on for validation, better able to move into an energy of any type of partnership. Which is why on this spiritual journey, we are pushed into isolation, especially if you're on the twin flame journey. Part of this process is hermiting. You are forced into separation from a person that activated your heart center and activated your healing, your kundalini. So as the kundalini works its way up and through all of your chakra system, it's pushing out all these wounds and old paradigms and clearing and purging all the crapola in regards to how we do relationship and spiritual maturity and our neediness and our searching and seeking and our suffering. It's clearing out all of these things. So it's like we're sequestered into a place of isolation so that we can address these issues and heal these issues and work through these issues. And it's hard work going into the shadow, facing shadow aspects of self. It's not desirable to look back at your life and say, oh, geez, maybe I was a little too promiscuous in my dating years. Maybe I didn't handle those relationships the best that I could have handled. Maybe alcohol was an influence in helping propel me into making stupid, dumbass choices. All of these things are necessary on the journey into purging and releasing and clearing these wounds that keep us on a hook. It's like we need to break the binds that keep us repeating the same karmic habits, and seeking validation is definitely a karmic habit that one needs to break. And how do we break it? Well, we start listening within. We start going within. I do a lot of videos on inner child work, on shadow work, on healing the wounds and addressing the wounds. First, you need to be able to identify what your wounds are. And if one of your wounds is secret validation, understand where it came from, where it originated from, is most likely a traumatic upbringing, which include a lot of gaslighting, telling you your reality was wrong, or harsh criticisms. If your inner child is constantly in your ear and saying, oh, you did that wrong, you did this wrong, and so you're seeking validation from others to say, well, did I do that wrong, or is this situation okay, or what should I do? So the more that you are put into a ball of isolation, that's so that you won't go to other people and say, I need validation. I need this validated. I need that validated. I need your opinion. So that isolation stage that you might currently be in is all about retraining yourself through reparenting and reprogramming so that you can start to learn to validate yourself. Because when you validate yourself, when you love yourself, when you're compassionate to self, when you forgive self, all of these things, you're cultivating the energy inside of you, and then you can show up in the world with stronger and healthier boundaries, as well as with those energies to be able to offer to others of, here, I can show up with more compassion to you because I've developed compassion for myself. I've developed forgiveness for myself. And forgiveness is hard for self. In the last couple days, I've been sitting in the energy of, if I had known what I know now back then, I would have totally did my entire life differently. I would have totally made 1,000,001 different choices than I made. But I made the choices that I made, and I made the mistakes that I made so that I could have the experience, so that I could understand the difference between seeking something outside of myself and seeking something within myself, or receiving that within myself. So, before I love and leave you, thank you for all the validation that you're giving me in regards to the comments. I seriously appreciate that more than you can possibly know. For all of the subscriptions, the likes, the shares, all of that, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the absolute world to me. If you are looking for a way to help transmute some of the energies that you are sitting in, some of the wounds that you're having difficulty with, navigating a spiritual awakening and feeling completely overwhelmed and off course, let's set up a Zoom call. The way to do that in the description is below. Please send me off an email. I do all my services at the present moment in time by donation, because I want to make sure that money is not stopping you from getting the help that you need. A lot of people are hurting right now. I want to be able to offer you whatever assistance that I can within reason, and be able to help you navigate out of some of the suffering that I have been able to navigate myself out of over the last few years. And the mission continues for us all. We are warriors on the mission to heal and to help ascend. And with that said, peace out.